Welcome back to Orkney. This will be my final video on my setup here in our little semi-detached bungalow here on Orkney. So it's just a recap of what I had before I expanded the system. I had 3.6 kilowatts of solar, so there was 13 panels. I've now added an extra 20. So there's 10 along the top, which are the original panels, and then 20 of the new sharp panels that I fitted. But in 2019, I had 3.6 kilowatts of solar. And in 2019, looking at my previous bills, day rate, or in the day, I use 5,500 kilowatt hours in the day, and estimated annual usage at night was 4,500. So a total of 9,101 kilowatt hours was my consumption in 2019, with a roughly 50-50 split between night rate and day rate. Move forward to now, 2022. So just over a year ago, I added those extra panels and had a smart meter installed. So I've now got 9.2 kilowatt of solar available on my roof. So the day rate, that's from 4:30 in the morning till 12:30 a.m. at night, I used 1,894 kilowatt hours of energy from the grid. The night rate, from 12:30 midnight till 4:30 in the morning with the Octopus Go tariff. I'll put a link in the description below, my referral code, where you get £50 and I get £50 if you sign up with Octopus. The day rate was 1,894 and the night rate was 4,748, giving a total of 6,642 kilowatt hours, or 6,642 units of electricity I used in 365 days. That's backed up with my smart meter readings. Now, as you can see while I'm scrolling through those meter readings, I dumped, it pains me to say this, 1,251 kilowatt hours of energy onto the grid, which translates at 41p a unit, which is the new rate I'm paying with Octopus, a day rate, is £512, ouch, that I dumped on the grid, despite having battery storage, 2 EVs, with sun up heat batteries. So to start off, what I'm saying is I've got more than enough solar. I'm dumping loads on the grid. I even invite my neighbours round to plug in their EVs when I'm not here, just to soak up some of that excess. But anyway, I'm more than happy with the amount of panels I've got on my roof, and I couldn't fit any more on anyway, even if I wanted. So over the last 365 days, my electricity has cost me, now this is using the new higher rate of 41 pence a unit. It was 24p a unit. By using the new higher rate from 2nd of November onwards, even though what I actually paid was less, because I don't want to be accused of twisting the figures. So I'm going to take the new higher rate I'm paying. Using last year's figures up to like last week, the day rate would have cost me £776 and the night rate would have been £569, giving a total of £1,346.30. Don't forget the standing charge, because I know someone will complain about that. That's now 50p a day, and over 365 days that's £182.50. Now the average household is going to be spending on energy, that's gas and electricity combined, before this capped announcement by the government, which we don't know whether that will remain after April or not. But without a cap, people were going to spend around £4,000 a year. So my bill under this new rate will be £1,346. So quite a saving, even when I have to pull off the grid. Now, it's worth remembering that we do not have any mains gas. So I'm going to come to some questions from Twitter in a minute, but no mains gas. So no combi boilers, no gas central heating system here. And people very often want to know the return on investment. Well, it's not that easy to sort of quantify. Let me tell you why. Well, we're running 2 electric vehicles, a Kia e-Niro 64 kilowatt hour and a 24 kilowatt hour Nissan ENV 200 people carrier, the combi van. Roughly, and this is really roughly, between those 2 vehicles we're doing around 12,000 miles a year. It's probably about 15, but I'm being, erring on the side of caution. 12,000 miles a year, and I'd say 99% of that has been from solar, or by filling up at night from my Pylon Tech storage batteries. So there's lots of different ways to fill an EV, but I'd say 99% of it has come from my home solar. Just to put that in context, when talking about return on investment, 12,000 miles in a petrol or a diesel that does 50 to the gallon is 240 gallons. Work it out on your calculators. Now, as we speak as of today, which is, where are we? Towards the end of October, petrol apparently, on average, is £1.88 a litre. There's 4.5 litres in a gallon. That's £8.46 for a gallon of dinosaur juice. So £8.46 times 240 gallons to do 12,000 miles is £2,030.40, or £39 a week. So return on investment is not just having a reduction in your electricity bill and saving there, it's also saving on your fuel costs. So let's get to some of the questions. So I put a note out on Twitter asking for questions from people that watch me rambling on YouTube. So from Twitter, Mike Evie, great name Mike. I'm mostly interested in how people balance their solar across battery, hot water and car. Do you prioritise? Yes. And do you add any midnight off-peak top-ups? And if so, how do you optimise how much to add? Good question. So it's just a combination of things, and using the My Energy products, and I'm not sponsored or paid for by My Energy, you basically get an excellent app. Don't know whether you can see it there, but I'll superimpose something over the video that shows you where your energy is going to. So you can change that and prioritise it. So my first priority is the base load. And what do we mean by base load? Well, it's things such as the washing machine, the dishwasher, the fish tank, the heated towel rail, and the air-to-air source heating system. That is my first priority. My next priority after the house base load is hot water. We always need hot water. So that's where my SunAmp heat batteries come into effect. So that's the next priority. Then after that, it's going to be my EVs, and along with my storage batteries from Pylon Tech. So the great thing about having the My Energy app and the Eddy solar diverter, you can prioritise where you want the energy to go. So for instance, day like today, the sun is out. We've had a dreadful few days of really heavy cloud, hardly any solar. And that's when, like today, I'm prioritising the house because we've got the washing machine on and the dishwasher and everything else going on. And as I've said in a previous video, you do become slightly obsessed with the weather because you want to know how to prioritise for the next day. Barry also asked, Barry 277078858, strange name Barry, are you planning on electrifying your home heating? It already is, Barry. We haven't got any mains gas, no oil here either. So we're already all electric. Mr. Claw UK, I'd like to know about how well the SunAmp has integrated into your home. Any difference to a combi boiler for instant hot water? Any downsides? I'll put a link in now to the video I did about my SunAmps, which will explain more. There you'll also see my original system of just 13 panels on my roof as well. But there aren't any downsides. It really is a lot faster than a combi boiler. I remember a combi back in Leicester when we had gas in my last house. You know, you turn the tap on, you'll hear the combi boiler fire up, and depending where the combi boiler is, you've got to wait, I don't know, 30 seconds, 40 seconds for the water to start coming through, because you've got that cold water from the combi to your sink or your tap. So yeah, now we still have slight delay first thing in the morning, but I'd say it's about 15-20 seconds. So it's on par with a combi boiler, but obviously it's a lot more efficient. The sun amps also take up far less room than an immersion tank or a combi boiler. The only downside is the cost. They have reduced in cost, the sun amp heat batteries. And if you want to know again how they work, it uses something called phase change materials, and that link that I put in earlier will explain more. But over the long term, they do work out to be a massive saving. Again, that video I did earlier, a couple of years ago now, will explain. Dave A. Floyd. Does the sun amp work with a wet central heating system as a replacement for the traditional combi boiler? Another combi question. Well, ours is just for hot water. We don't have a wet heating system, we don't have radiators, but I believe it can work with a traditional heating system, the sun amps. As I said earlier, I know the sun amps are good for preheating, right? Preheating your cold feed to the combi boiler. So when the cold water comes to the combi via a sun amp heat battery, it's already warm. So that means the combi has less work to do in order to bump up the temperature. So that works really, really well, which this of course will save people on gas. Jonathan Cullen, thank you Jonathan. Perhaps an update on payback time given the energy crisis. And I think I've just covered that. It's, you know, if I was paying £4,000 a year, which is sort of the UK average, plus the fuel I would have put into my cars if I was running 2 cars, which is £2,030 a year. So that's 4 plus 2 is 6. I reckon I've spent about 15. So by my man maths, by year 3, I will have saved around £15,000 with a combination of not just the reduction in electricity bill, but using electricity, sunshine power, to power my EVs and make us move from A to B. So it's a combination of savings with different devices that means you get a good return on investment. Simon Chetwind, thank you Simon. I assume your solar is sized for winter use and you just export like crazy in the summer. Don't remind me. I don't like seeing yellow on the app because it means I've been dumping on the grid. I didn't really think about optimising for the winter. I just wanted to fill my roof with panels. I can't go any further that way because that's next door, and I couldn't go any nearer the edge because I didn't want any wind shear and it's down off the roof slightly. So I just wanted to maximise my roof because the panels cost around about £100 each. So, you know, if you're going to put rail up and panels, just stick up as many as possible. And again, you know, I don't want to export, and that's when I would invite neighbours around if I was out all day. Even when I was on holiday, I could see on the app that I was dumping on the grid, so it was a quick text to one of my 2 neighbours and tell them to pop round and plug into my Zappy, because I just hate seeing it go to waste. Peter Wood, was it easy to add additional Polytop batteries to expand your storage? Can you plug them in yourself? Yes. You note the hesitation in my voice, but I'd rather trust my good friend Chris Wright, who's a brilliant electrician. He's on Twitter as @YBrigade, so look up Chris. I'll get Chris to plug them in because the new packs usually arrive at 50% state of charge, and so it's good to have the ones you're plugging into your existing modules at 50% because the BMS needs to balance out with the extra ones you've just plugged in. So it's good practice to make sure the state of charge is the same when you plug in. So it's just basically, yeah, it's a plug in and play setup. Moving on to YouTube, I put a community post up asking for questions, and Tim Stanley, thank you Tim. Roughly how many units of electricity have you consumed from solar in 12 months and how many units of off-peak? I think I answered that earlier. And would this give you the monetary benefit, or is that too simplistic? Thanks, Tim Bold. It is a bit simplistic, Tim. As I said earlier, that you've just got to take it as an overall holistic approach, if you like, to how much money you've saved. But I do have some figures, because I've just been up to the inverter and pressed some buttons and got some figures. My hybrid inverter, which covers those 20 panels, in 2022, so from January right through till now, which is end of October, 4.9 megawatt hours, or 4,900 kilowatt hours. And from June 2021, which is when the inverter went live, so to speak, right through to December 2021, that was 2.44 megawatt hours, or 2,400 kilowatt hours. The top panels are on my smaller inverter, which is sort of grid tied to dump it on the grid at a maximum of 3.68 kilowatts, which is what I'm allowed under a G98 certificate, of which I've got. That's another video in itself. But the top inverter, covering the top rows, was 3,865. That inverter won't give me a breakdown of the years, but that's since it's been switched on, and that was June 2021. So basically, since this system with the extra panels has been live, which is from June 2021, adding all those figures together, I have created 11,165 kilowatt hours. So I'm not off grid, I'm grid edge. It's basically what that means is, looking at how much I used last year was 6,642. But that 11,000 I just mentioned, that was from June 2021. So what's that? June, July, August, September, October, and October. So that's 16 months. So, you know, I reckon around about 9,000 kilowatt hours is what I'll make per year. Yeah, so that covers that. Ian Nadin. Hi Jonathan, a couple of questions for you. SunAmp is a great innovation for the hot water. How are you heating the house, and have you got any plans to install alternative technologies for doing so? And roughly how much of your EV's power is home generated? Thanks. I think I've covered it, but I'll just recap, Ian. The hot water is just from SunAmp, and to heat the house is from our air-to-air source heat pumps, which are really, really good. Again, it's covered in the previous 2 videos I've done about my setup here. But for every 1 kilowatt hour of energy you put into the air-to-air source heat pump, you get 3 kilowatt hours of heat out. So it's really, really efficient. And as I said earlier, EV power, I'd say, you know, a good 99% of our miles has just been from solar. Charcoal Wales. Interesting name. Hello Jonathan, I'd like to understand how the various subsystems, Zappi, Harvey, Parlontech, solar inverter, etc. handshake with each other, Chris. Well, that is basically, again, down to the excellent My Energy products. They just all talk to each other. And the solar diverter called an Eddy, you can, by means of the app, you can prioritise where you want the energy to go. In fact, I will do that now, just to show you. If at the minute the sun's sort of coming out, but I can prioritise. See, I'm getting 1.2 kilowatts are going into my SunAmp heat batteries, but if I tap that, I can swing it around and prioritise the EV charger. And so you can change the order on the app as to where you want the energy to go. But as I said earlier, my first need is the house, hot water, and then any excess will go into the car. Adrian Max sort of answered that as well in the answer. Thank you, Adrian. He says, maybe I can help here or with all this hardware. From 2 weeks ago, I have manually set up the batteries to charge overnight. I wish it was smart enough to know what the weather would be next. That would be nice. Eddy and Zappi work really well with excess power. I have 7.5 kilowatt hours of batteries for this time of year. Wish we had more. It does get you like that, Adrian. You just want more and more storage. I started off with 4 units, which is about 14 kilowatt hours, and within a matter of a month or so I wanted another 4. So I've got 28 kilowatt hours of storage with around about 24 usable. Do you wish you had more or less of what you have right now, of what you have? Thank you, Adrian. You asked a question as well. How has cost changed if you were to do it again today? Cost has changed. The Pylon-Tech storage batteries have gone up, and like everything in life has gone up because of supply chain issues. But I would do it again. I'm glad I did it when I did, because obviously it was a lot cheaper than doing it now. And I hear people, asking for quotes from solar companies to fit solar, and they're having to wait months because they can't keep up with demand. So yeah, I'd do it all again. And even if I had to do it again now, I'd just find the money from somewhere and just do it, because it's a long-term proposition that is going to save you money. Lewis Standing also replied to this train of questions from Adrian and Charcoal Wales. He thinks that a fair bit of it was free. Orkney makes too much electricity from its renewables, and apparently it's cheaper to buy people batteries and heat pumps than to build a bigger export cable or abate the wind. Fair enough. Really jealous though. Don't be jealous, Lewis. If only it was that simple, my friend. Again, the video which you can click on at the end of this video is a breakdown of my SunAmp heat batteries. Now, they were free. That was part of a project called the Smile project, which was to help alleviate turbines being turned off on the nearby island of Rousey, which is just on the west mainland of Orkney. So they were free, but everything else I've bought myself. But we still have this issue with, we do make more electricity than we know what to do with, but there's other factors like who's going to maintain the power lines, and Ofgem has various rules in place where we can't get cheaper electricity than, say, people in Caithness or Wick or John O'Groats, because obviously they see it as not very fair. But that is an ongoing topic here on Orkney. So there you go. I think I've answered all the questions. It is worth doing. It's not a simple return on investment. I've said this so many times before. It is my passion. It is my hobby. If you buy a new television, if you buy a new kitchen, you don't suddenly say, what's my return on investment on my kitchen? What's my return on investment on the TV? You just want one. And I just wanted this setup because it just interests me. But glad I did it when I did, because, with rising energy costs that are going to remain high for the foreseeable future, being grid smart, being not off grid, but grid edge is the way forward. Still need the grid. Got fantastic options through the middle of the night. So, in the winter months when the sun isn't up, I will set the timer on my inverter to pull off the grid between 12:30 and 4:30 from the Go tariff from Octopus Energy. So the main benefit and the biggest asset to my setup isn't the solar, isn't the heat batteries, it's the storage batteries. The storage batteries have just transformed the way we use energy here. So if you're going to do anything, if you haven't got an EV, even if you can't afford solar, do recommend you get and invest in some storage batteries. Then your electrician can hook it up so that with an inverter, a hybrid inverter, so that you have the ability to charge those storage batteries when the electricity is really cheap, and then use that through the rest of the day when the electricity is really high. That is going to be the future, folks. It's helping to balance the grid and buying electric cheap. So storage batteries. All of this, of course, is on the premise that your house is well insulated. So don't do any of this if you've got old sash windows, if you haven't got double glazing, if your insulation is a bit Insulate, insulate, insulate is the key to cutting and reducing your costs. Thanks for watching. I'll put now a link here to the 2 videos I keep banging on about. That one is about my Pylon-Tech and how I charge at night. A little bit of clickbait, but it does. And that one there is about my SunAmp heat batteries and basically how they have a similarity with salt and vinegar crisps. So watch those two videos, that will give you some more insight as to my setup.